Well, good evening, everybody. Do we have no energy tonight? Good evening, everybody. We're about to bring a world-class museum to Lake Worth Beach, and that's all I can get? Come on, come on. Welcome to our second event, community event for the Wiener Museum of Decorative Arts Mixed-Use Cultural Arts Campus. We also call it WMODA. My name is Paul Miller, and I'm with the R. Miller Consulting Group. We're part of the team of economic development professionals that are working with the other folks that you're going to meet tonight from WMODA that are helping to bring this project into reality. We had 105 folks registered for this event tonight. We're glad that so many of you did make it. We're going to allow people to keep coming in, but you're giving your Wednesday night to us, so please give yourselves a hand for being here tonight. And I can tell you that the cookies are low calorie, so please fill your pockets as you go out because none of us need them. Our first virtual meeting last month was a great success, and now we're very excited to see some of the faces of the names that we met through the virtual meeting and also that we've been meeting through phone calls and various forums, the newsletter, our website, to actually meet you in person tonight and have you here tonight to hear about the vision and the concepts is very important to us. We're excited to show you some of the designs and concepts tonight that we feel brings art, passion, and value to your growing downtown. And we hope that by you being here tonight, participating in getting our newsletter, participating in the virtual forum, speaking with us in community groups, that this doesn't just become our project, it becomes your project as well. That's very important to us that we involve community, and it is what the commitment we made to the CRA board and the commission. We're hosting this charrette tonight to show you the current project vision as it stands, get input from you as we streamline the design process, and earn your support for this project as we move forward. Public-private partnerships, or P3s, and you're going to be hearing more of them, are most effective when these types of early conceptual schematic meetings are held, where we can get input from stakeholders such as yourselves, the community, residents, business owners, people that it's going to actually affect. Because it's at this time that we can actually make changes, if feasible, both financially, structurally, and otherwise, to our designs while it's in an early phase. You all should have received an agenda when you came in tonight. As I said, we do have a short time frame. We're only here till 8 o'clock. We've got a lot to go over, and we want to be respectful to the folks at the hatch who are here helping us coordinate this, as we are to you, and be able to get as much input and let you hear about what's going on with this project. Before we begin, I'd like to recognize our city and CRA officials that are joining us here tonight. From the city, we have Mayor Resch and Commissioner Mimi May. And did any of the other three commissioners sneak in while folks were coming in? I didn't think so. But. Okay. From our CRA board, we have Chair Carla Bloxon. Wow. I wish I got that kind of applause. That's pretty cool. Drew Bartlett. And Donna Kerner. Hello, welcome. We're glad we didn't miss you. At this time, I'd like to introduce our panelists, starting with Renee Miller from R. Miller Consulting Group, Ed Shim from HLW Architecture, Anna Amari from HLW. I'm going to leave the two people in the center for a little bit longer. They get their own special introduction. And then Merwan El-Kasi from Bowler Engineering. You're going to have moderators at your tables tonight. Some of you have a full table. Some of you only have a couple people at your table. The folks that only have a couple people, you're going to have a lot more input than the people that got a full table. So if you decide that you want to move around, that's entirely okay. The moderators, folks, tonight, they're not seat fillers, they're not stand-ins, they're not people that we dragged in to say, oh, can you go do this? Each and every person that's a moderator tonight is on our team, from architects to designers to our planning and zoning folks, to our market analysis, so on and so forth. So they're intricately aware of the nature of this project and what it means, and we'll be able to answer your questions. We will also have people floating around from our team to answer any other questions. And also, I'd like to recognize Mr. William Waters in the back from the Planning and Sustainability Director, I think I got it right, who will also be floating around if you have any city-specific questions that need to be asked as we go along. Your moderators are not going to be directing you. They're going to be trying to keep you on track. They're going to be trying to jot down your thoughts. We are going to have full-size site plans to go over. You'll have Post-its, Sharpies, pens, and then they'll be asking you some questions about things that you see on the plans in regards to the site plan and what you think works well, and hopefully what you don't think works well. That will be a very short column. But what we want to do is have them keep you on track. If there's a topic that's off the site plan, we want to move it to the parking lot, or for those of you that are green, the bike rack. And we can write that down and explore that at a later date and get back to you about any questions you may have with that. The last introduction that I do want to make is Mr. Arthur Wiener and his daughter Ariana. It's really Arthur's passion and vision. It's truly his passion and vision that's allowed our great team, and really, I got to tell you, I enjoy working with all these people that I never met before, to get this project moving, working with the city. You all have a great city staff and CRA staff that represent this city very well, very competent, professional folks. And the vision that he has to bring this museum and the overall campus here is what is driving us to deliver a project that is just superior. And so with that, I'd like to offer Arthur to say a few words.
I want to thank all of you for coming. Second, I love this town. I walked around it. This is not the only town that is vying for WMODA, but this town has a vibe. You walk around it, and I told William that it reminds me of Cambridge, Massachusetts, young, or the West Village of Manhattan. You might ask why I want to share this. I don't want to brag, but it is a world-class collection. We have glass, Dale Chihuly, probably the largest private collection in the world. We have ceramics. We have Stratfordshire, which was English company for 200 years made ceramics. The ceramics were in Stoke-on-Trent. Why Stoke-on-Trent? That's where the clay was. That's where the canals were, where they could move the clay. And we have Ardmore. Ardmore is probably one of the favorite exhibitions. That's by the African people. I think the Zulu tribe. And each piece is handmade, hand-painted, and that expresses the spirit of the creator. I'm talking too much, but I just want to say that I want to leave a legacy. And Ariana, my daughter, is part of the future. So nobody is indispensable, especially me. But again, there are plans for succession. Right? Succession is the right word?
I mean, I don't think we need to be so fatalistic with this. We'll keep it light.
Okay, so again, I would like children to come in and get their hands wet on a potter's wheel, especially of minority children who have never had the same opportunity as Ariana, right? And that's not fair. It's not fair. I want them to get a drawing pad, colored pencils, go through the museum. We have probably the best museum director in the world. Louise, where are you? Please stand up. Yeah. She is, it's easy for me to sign checks. She's the heart and soul of the operation, right? What else? Save your questions for later. I talk. Thank you. Thank you.
So just to introduce myself, I'm Ariana. I'm one of Arthur's 4 children. I'm number 3. This is my second time down here over the past few months, and both times we've walked around, seen the downtown, gone to the beach, gone to Benny's on the beach, and I really, really enjoy it here. I think you guys have a great town. I think there's great spirit, obviously very creative, very artistic, and we have been looking for a home, a permanent home for the museum for many years, and I really think that Lake Worth is it. I think that we've really found the right place for the collection and the right community. Everybody's been very welcoming, very engaging. We really feel the support and we really appreciate it. So I wanted to say thank you to all of you for welcoming us. It really means a lot.
Thank you, Ariana and Arthur. So we're going to jump in, and so we've just done the welcome and introductions. Our Charrette overview is what we're going to do now. We're going to introduce your moderators. Then we're going to go into a project overview from our panel, the site concepts and designs from the panel, and then we're going to have our breakout session, and then we're going to come back together. You'll have about 45 minutes for that breakout session. We will keep you on time. And then we will have about 20 minutes, 20 minutes or so for questions at the end from our panel. So I'd like to introduce now our team. At table 1 is Joe Stamfo from HLW. Table 2, David Kastner from United Management. And it's David's birthday today, so be nice to David.
Happy birthday to you!
From Lambert Advisory, our market analyst, Paul Lambert, will be at table 3. From HLW, Jennifer Adams at table 4. At table 5, heading up the project management and construction from HE2PD, Nick Tangretti.
Yay, Nick.
At table 6, with place planning, is Corey O'Gorman.
Yay.
Table 7, Renee Miller. Table 8, Robert, I always get your last name messed up. Morgado from Bowler Engineering. Table 9 is Louise Irvine from WMODA. You guys can ask her all about the collection and make arrangements for a private tour. If anybody's at table 10, you get me, so that's a good thing. And table 11, if we have anybody back there, is not yet. Okay, we'll see. Is Merwan, and he is actually a Lake Worth Beach resident who's on our project. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Renee and the panel for the presentation.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening, everyone. Before we get started in talking about the project overall, I want to always remain focused on what the key goal for our development is, and that's finding the home for WMODA. I cannot give it justice the way that Arthur and Ariana and Louise could give it justice. But I have come to learn how unique this particular kind of museum is. And Louise and Arthur tell us that we're one of the only ones in the world that has this particular collection of art and ceramics presented in this way. And we believe that there is a true destination opportunity here in Lake Worth Beach because of that. And maybe that, plus all of the other things that you've invested in together, is what I believe makes this the best synergistic relationship that we could have ever happened upon. Before I get started in talking about the project, I really want to start there and say that is our ultimate goal overall. When we talk about this project, you hear us talk a lot about a partnership. And it is, in fact, a public-private partnership, and I want to take this opportunity to define who the partners are. Of course, it's the Wiener family, since they are the benefactors of WMODA and the owners of United Management, and United Management will be the developer for this overall project. Along with us in this partnership, of course, is the WMODA 501c3, who runs the day-to-day operation of the museum and will continue to do so when we find our home here in Lake Worth Beach. And finally, it's the Lake Worth Beach CRA and the City of Lake Worth Beach. If you have been following this project, you know that we've talked about from the very beginning that this doesn't work if it's not a public-private partnership together. And we've done a lot of talking, we've done a lot of conversations, mainly because we truly believe that it has to be a marriage for which we're as into you as you're into us, and we make this relationship work. And so, with that, we wanted to show you who your partners are. At its heart, it's the Wiener family, and of course, everyone else together to make it work. I talked a little bit about our community engagement. I was happy to be able to recognize a lot of faces here today because we've done a lot of outreach. We've had over 100 residents and business owners sign up for our monthly newsletter through our splash page, WMODALovesLWB.com. We continue to see daily views increase on that splash page. We also have met with over 40 residents and businesses face-to-face over the last couple of weeks just to learn a little bit more about what are the touch point issues. How can we, put our best foot forward in what you're going to see today? And you'll see a lot of that in what will be presented. And then, of course, today, as Paul said, we had over 105 residents registered to participate today. And that's huge. We're very excited about the excitement and the engagement, and we welcome all of your comments. So many people have asked us what is the critical path for this project. And when we, developed this process, we saw it as a 5-step process, starting first with mobilization and research, which we did in the months of February and March, site planning and analysis, which we concluded in the month of April, and right now we're sitting in our collaboration and scenario development timeframe. And you'll see at the bottom here, we had our first virtual meeting in April. We continue to have community meetings in May, and of course with the culmination of this community charrette. So what I want to reinforce is that the information that we take from you tonight is what we are going to use to help us to finalize our plan. Nothing is finished, nothing is set in stone. We needed to have this meeting today in order to be able to ultimately, is it me? Does it not like me? Something. In order to be able to finalize the site plan and be able to bring back what we would like to present as final, taking all of your feedback into consideration. Does that mean that we're going to be able to say yes to everything that you asked for today? No, but we will try. And if we can't do it, we certainly will say we can't, and this is why. And then we move into our final vision, And our P3, when we refer to P3, that's what we're talking about for public-private partnership, which is what I explained when we first started. Our P3 negotiation of terms, all of these things, of course, have to be committed to legal documentation. We are working with city funds, our funds and city funds in partnership. So all of that will need to be negotiated. At the end, we are working towards a formal agreement and site plan finalization. That's what success looks like. But all of those things that I said happens in a 6-month time period. So that's a lot of work to be crunched into 6 months. And when you really start getting into the details of planning something of this scale, I'm sure all of you in here can appreciate how quickly we are moving. With that, I would like to turn it over to Anna Amari from HLW, who will take you through the site plan and design.
Thank you. Our team has worked very hard today to give you a little bit of everything. This is a snapshot in time for us. As Renee mentioned, we're in concept, preliminary design. And today you will see a host of variations of sketches, massing diagrams, some concept plans, and I'd like to walk you through the thinking that went behind the site plan that will end up on your table for you to give us feedback on. Oh, actually, and before I do that, I'd like to give you a little bit of an introduction on HLW. Our principal, Ed. Ed, can you come up here for a minute?
For a minute, we thought we were going to skip the introduction of our firm. But it is important equally for you all to understand who we are as an organization. We are not just the architects for Arthur and his family for this wonderful project, but we are architects who have done work all over the world, and we do have an office and a home just 15 minutes north of here, south of here? North, in West Palm Beach. Okay, so we are not foreigners. We have one of my partners who's heading up this job who couldn't be here today, was raised in Jupiter, Florida, so he's a local. And he very much cares about working with us and our greater team to make sure that we are putting the best minds into this project and making sure that this is not just an architectural expression or a product at the end of the day, but it is a compilation of ideas that includes yours as well. So it is our privilege to be here tonight to listen to what every single one of you has to say, because it is our duty and responsibility, we feel, as architects that contribute to the greater environment, to make sure that your thoughts are considered. So this is not just going through the motions. I want to reiterate that. We are a client-focused design thinking firm, but one of our mottos is that our work tells your story. That is our motto. If you go into our HLW website, that is a motto that we take pride in, great pride in through all the various clientele that we have worked with all over the world. And that carries across many different sectors, whether it be residential, whether it be commercial clients, whether it be media and entertainment clients or hotels. I mean, we've worked with all of them. I've been in this industry for about 30 years now. I've been with the firm for 20 years, and I will tell you, I have not yet worked with a developer who's willing to do just this, which is to sit with the community and get their feedback. Again, just some of our work. We have done work in various parts of Florida. But this is our first for Lake Worth Beach, and we want to make sure that we put a very good building together and really create a great place, a destination, if you will, for not just the community at Lake Worth Beach, but bringing people from all over and make this an attraction. We are not just an architecture firm. We also do interior design. We do landscaping. We do master planning. We do sustainability. We have an in-house lighting group. We have an in-house branding group. So the reason why I share that is because what we will put into this project is very comprehensive. We have a variety of professionals and experts that will gather their minds and make sure that this building is not just something that is nice to look at from the outside in, but also equally, and if not more important, to make sure that the buildings are designed from inside out. Okay, the building is only as good as how it works inside and how it contributes to the experience of the user, that being you, as far as the building is concerned. So we take a very holistic approach as far as how we design a building. So I just wanted to share that. And as you can see, we have offices not only just minutes from here, but our corporate headquarters is in New York, and we have various offices throughout the country and one in London. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Anna, and then she will probably just kind of walk you through the various components of how we've arrived at a very preliminary concept plan, which again, I can't stress enough, what you'll be seeing today is very preliminary. Nothing is final. Thank you.
Great. So we're going to start with site context. We're going to share some driving principles on the project, and finally give you an overview of the project scope, summary, and design studies. I believe you're probably very aware of the site, but it is at 501 Lake Avenue, west of the Federal Highway, about 10 blocks west of the beach and Bryant Park. To the image to the right is an aerial view that shows the site in a little bit more detail. And what's important here is to note the scale of the buildings. To the south are more residential, single family, multifamily, and as you go north, it crescendos to a little bit larger as it appropriate to the commercial district on the main street. Zooming in a little closer, an aerial of the site proper. It is about 1.7 acres. It is bound by South M Street to the east, South L Street to the west, the frontage on Lake Avenue, as well as First Avenue South, excuse me. There is an alley between the site that will need to remain operable, and we're integrating that into the planning. This is on the right is a survey, left aerial view of that survey, also of the site. And on the survey, we have identified the 4 existing buildings that are contributing buildings. In order for this project to meet the goals and to be a success for what is planned and the vision, the 4 buildings will need to be relocated. In today's presentation, we'll share that location in preceding slides. 2 destination points that are within eyesight of the site are the historical museum that is diagonally across the street to the northeast, as well as a park that is directly at the end or along the western portion of the alley, the existing alley. We've identified the north portion of the site to be the museum site, the site where the portion of land where the museum will be located, and the south portion as the location where the residential will be located, also appropriate to the districts within each of these land masses exist. Driving principles for our approach to this is first and foremost urban connectivity, implementing urban design and planning principles that engage with the community. And we'll be examples of how to do that over the course of this presentation. Celebrating the arts. This is a museum, and as Arthur mentioned, his collection is really robust. It's incredibly exciting. We toured his thousands of pieces that are currently on view, and it's a dream for any architect to work on a project like this. So the artistic element to this, to reinforce the already existing cultural district and art movements that are happening in the town, we see the synergy with that in this project. And finally, to do all the above within a building that is contextual and appropriate to both the climate and the history and culture of Lake Worth Beach. On that, the 2 buildings, the museum to the north and the residential to the south, fall in 2 historic districts. The first one being the downtown historic district to the north, and the Southeast Lucerne district to the south. The Southeast Lucerne, of course, being of coastal cottages, and the downtown district of Moorish revival, Spanish colonial, Mediterranean revival, as well as Art Deco. This is significant because we want to ensure that there is a nod, and that this is our inspiration for the aesthetic that will be coming to the building enclosures. Some examples specifically of Art Deco patterning, also an inspiration and relevant in that we noted a lot of the Lake Worth beach signage has embraced some of these symbols from the Art Deco movement. So looking at what this means in the context of a site plan for development. As mentioned, we're locating the museum at the land plot to the north and the residential to the south. We're looking to reinforce three ideas: permeability, connectivity, and activation. Permeability to ensure that the massing of this development is not like a wall. There will be an opening where you can see through into a courtyard, so it's planned around an internal courtyard. Connectivity as much as we can to the community, and activation by reinforcing this idea where this alley could become an art walk. Still an operable alley as needed to the function of the neighborhood, but can also be something else that relates to the synergy of the building of the museum building to the north and the residential to the south. This is a site plan, as a drawn site plan, as it relates to the bulk of what I just stated. Again, museum to the north, fronting Lake Avenue, the residential development to the south. There's a view corridor into the courtyard. We have planned for, and the art walk that's between the two. We have planned for underground parking to serve the bulk of the residential requirements, with parking for museum to be at a potential site indicated to the west of this development, shown in the dashed blue line, and the 4 contributing buildings lining that facing First Avenue South at the intersection of South K Street, as shown on this plan. Just a quick layout of the underground parking. We're able, from our estimate, we can yield a number that's appropriate to this residential development for the residences that live on site. And again, the museum being potentially in that off-site location. Zooming in a little bit more to the ground level concept for planning to really support the idea of an art walk. The art walk is further activated and successful by what's the program that surrounds it. So we're planning for the museum to have ground level activation that includes a gift shop, and the ground level for the residential at the northern portion of this development would be amenity and lobby. So the nature of the architectural expression would be more glazing, so there is an activation to that portion of the site development. From a programmatic perspective, we have about 28,000 square feet of museum. That's 3 stories. About 120,000 square feet of residential that ranges from 3 to 5 stories. And that the stepping is something that we're integrating to ensure that it doesn't read as a wall, but appropriately starts low from the south and goes higher to the north as it goes towards the commercial district and the museum building. This is actually the site plan with the ground level floor plan that I just described, overlaid on an aerial. And this will be a printout that you'll have at your tables to provide us with your thoughts and feedback, which we look forward to. You were going to step in.
Yes, thank you. I think this is a great opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the elements that Anna has been walking through. You hear us talk a lot about parking. As we As we began this process, we knew that we had a lot of redevelopment goals that we had to achieve. Redevelopment goals that had been put out there by the city and the CRA, concerns that had been put out there previously by the community for preservation of the contributing buildings to ensure that whatever structure that we put forward was consistent with the surrounding areas. Concern that we had some permeability, concern that we were thoughtful when it came to the massing of the structure itself. Those are a lot of things, plus concern for us to ensure that overall, whatever it is that we build is economically sustainable and supports the long-term operation of the museum. So all of those things we had to kind of package into what it is that you're seeing today. That hinges a lot on our ability to do the subterranean parking to support the residential, but also hinges on a potential partnership with the city for the construction of a parking garage on K. The city for many years has been thinking about this. We are talking about this with them in the very beginning stages, but in this potential public-private partnership structure, we would be able then to move the parking that would support the museum to that structure and partner with the city to pay for and construct that parking structure. We believe for many reasons it is good for the site. It ensures that we don't have to amass more concrete on the location to support the parking. It ensures that we will be able to have some economic development added value to the downtown. And we know that our peak time is very different than your peak time. So we think that this would be a win-win, not only for us, but for the community and all of the redevelopment goals that we talked about. Of course, the devil is in the details, but I do want to bring that forward as a concept that we are talking about. I'll turn it over to William to talk about anything that I might have missed with respect to the potential parking structure conversation.
Good evening, and I'm so happy to see a lot of you here. There's some faces that I haven't seen in a while, and so I think the success of this charrette will be based on the input we get from all of you. But as Renee mentioned, this is a unique opportunity that I know the city, and I'm sorry that Joan could not be here, Oliva. We've been talking about how to deal with a myriad of development challenges in Lake Forest Beach downtown, and this is a unique opportunity in that we can work together with a private enterprise to address some of the parking demands and challenges that are there in a sympathetic and understanding developer and design firm. You do not know how they're just amazing. I've been really impressed working with them. We meet every week and talk about the issues that are coming up. Through this partnership, there is likely an ability to address issues that are of concern for business owners downtown, special events that happen like the Street Painting Festival, access to different things, broadening the appeal of Lake Forest Beach. So she's included everything as Renee mentioned, but there is a process already in place. We don't have to create a new animal to get there, and that's also very exciting. It will be a planned process that will go through a number of public hearings, and we can, when we break out into different tables, I can explain how that would work. But it is an opportunity to be transformative in Lake Forest Beach, at the same time preserving and enhancing and encouraging the unique aspects that we all find so important here, the unique charm, the flavor, the atmosphere, and sort of the grittiness of it as well. It will not be, it'll be enhanced and celebrated. And I think at the end, all of you will be super, super proud of what we'll be able to pull off in the next 6 months, 18 months, or going forward. Thanks.
And one last thing that I do want to highlight about this, we gave a lot of thought to those contributing structures and where we think contextually would be a value added. Moving them to the K and the K and First Street lots adjacent to the parking garage structure will allow for us to have these beautiful buildings be facing similar context to the south, and will also allow for the community to have conversations through the city and the CRA about what to do with them, what's best. And there's many things that are being talked about, and there's many visions that we've discussed and lots of different needs. But, as a developer, moving that and placing them, we know they will fit, and that is our contribution to that process. And we think altogether, it really does speak to adding value in the context that William talked about.
Excuse me. Reference images on the clearly taller than I am. Reference images on the spirit of the art walk. The idea is that it would be a pedestrian-friendly place, potentially even with the activation of the museum and the amenity at the residential, could actually be a destination place. But the idea is that we're introducing the paving, landscaping, lighting, first and foremost. So it can be walkable. It also needs to be drivable, but the idea is for it to be, to embrace a sense of place. And if there are workshops similar to what Arthur was talking about before, that could spill out into that place, which reinforces that engagement with the community. This is a diagram of the museum. This isn't the floor plan necessarily, but it indicates a few things. That the cafe would be at the ground level on Lake Avenue, the museum shop on South M Street, with the entrance off of Lake Avenue. We're trying to straddle the program so that it allows for activation to the south on the art walk, but of course the prominent retail component is on the prominent retail street in Lake Worth Beach, which is Lake Avenue. These are massing diagrams that begin to show the idea of the buildings from the west and east. These don't show fenestration, they don't show design. We're not quite there yet, but it gives you an idea of the bulk of what we're looking at. The image on the left is a perspective from the western portion of the site, looking towards the residential, which is yellow, and on the art walk. And the image on the right is looking from the east to the west, also at the art walk. The yellow to the left is the residential, and the blue to the right is the museum. We're embracing the zoning required setbacks, and again, as mentioned, the idea is to ensure that there is a staggering of heights on the residential development for it to be as appropriate as possible to the scale of the neighborhood. Reference images as it relates to the fenestration that would be introduced. The massing diagrams don't have the architectural expressions that break it down in scale, so we wanted to ensure that we referenced imagery of some of the components we're thinking about for shading and detail and other components that relate to the architectural story of this development. This is a sketch also. We haven't designed the skins yet, but this is an aerial view of the residential, which is to the left, indicating the stepping of the bulk of the residential from 3 levels to the south, going up to 4 and then 5 to the north. The art walk in between, and the museum that is looking to engage both Lake Avenue and the art walk. This is a sketch also. Again, we haven't designed it, so this isn't necessarily what it's going to look like, but it's symbolic in that it's indicating fenestration, projections, overhangs, screens, also in part to celebrate the idea of sustainable architecture and design, and that we're looking at as many ways in which to incorporate passive measures as it relates to ventilation and solar shading, optimizing building orientation, infusing greenery as much as possible, and embracing the idea and concept of walkability, which relates to the parking concept holistically, as well as the art walk, and embracing the idea of experiencing something in the space between the buildings. A sketch of the museum looking from the northeast corner. And what this is really intending to show, again, because it's not designed yet, but intending to show the ground level is activated. There's glass to showcase the cafe and museum shop, which is appropriate for the activation on Lake Avenue. Potentially a lantern up above, activation in a terrace at the museum building, and beyond you see the layering of the residential as it steps to the south. And this is a sketch of the art walk. You can see to the right is the museum. This is indicating a potential sort of that dual facade I mentioned before, where we're activating the Lake Avenue as well as, Lake Avenue, the more formal commercial front, as well as the art walk, which is the more private, intimate component with synergy between the residential to the left, ground level is amenity. This isn't established formally yet, but there's been discussions of a clubhouse and or workshops that might correlate to the museum. This sketch is showing it as pedestrian only. It would not be. This would be, as mentioned, an alleyway, but we're implementing certain urban design components that will allow for pedestrian-friendly and potential, street activation and events. Again, the aerial shot that you saw before, because this is a holistic project with the idea of engaging the architecture and the space between the buildings with the community for it to be a destination place and creating a sense of place that adds to the existing cultural district of Lake Worth Beach. That concludes our presentation, and I'll give it to Paul to talk about what's next.
Okay, at this time, we're going to ask the moderators to go to their tables. And Ed and Anna, thank you, panel. Ed and Anna, if you guys can help pass out the site plans. If you are at a table with only a couple people and you'd like to consolidate into another table to be able to hear what other people are saying, please do. We're going to get started. It's 6:51. We're going to go on the clock at 6:55 for 45 minutes, so we do have some time for questions and answers. Please take this time. This is your time. Again, like we said, we hope you make this your project. And again, we thank you for being here, and we'll be back with you in a little bit. Where one? You need one?
number one is that the historic building is still sitting. It's going to move.
The historic buildings are going to move to another location.
Oh, what I was going to say, if they were in place, this is where they're at, is I would like to have the city and CRA, both of them, I would have the city and CRA apply for grants, and they could restore it. It has to move. Okay, so 7 point is, there's a lot of private pools in the world. More and more private pools. There is no public pool, and there's an old location where a public pool once was. That turned out to be a disastrous investment because it was done in 1971. But just before they put in Interstate 25, when they put Interstate 25 in, the whole market for tourism dried up. So it's really like that's yesteryear. It's not a good location of pools. Every aisle in the region has their own private pool. We're not going to come to our public pool. So there's still a need for a public pool, and there's a location on Main Street, First Avenue South. But where are we going to get the money from? Insurance, Richard, on the public pool is so expensive. So expensive. And the insurance, as you know, has gone up geometrically. The insurance on a condo building by owner went from like 800 to 1,000,001, 500,000. Now we went from 1,000,001 to 1,006,000. Okay, and the law says that the board must insure for the replacement. So you can have a small deductible try to cut down the premium, but we are not going to pay the money. That's exactly what's in the thing. You're just looking at language. So what I'm suggesting is that the location of the case and First Avenue Samurai is a double line. I want the city of the pool there, right? And therefore that will relieve you of putting in a pool for your development. So far as that pool from my place, it's like a block, that's a block. I don't know if the tenants are going to want to go usually Richard, pool is within the complex. That's what I'm saying. This is, and I'm sorry, I'm going to exaggerate. No, this is the whole block away. I was doing my math wrong, but it's a half a block away. So like you have a building, like the street, building, alley, and then pool. And so what I'm saying is, the tenants don't have to go there, by no means. But if they want to, like say, my girlfriend doesn't stay, so she's not going to go. She's going to get set. She's not going to go to pool. No, they have to go. The people.
It would be a nice amenity for the city.
Anybody says that could be a visit. The city, it's all about like it's the marketing. We have a marketing company that tells us what the competition is to rent the properties. Like if they have gyms, we have a gym. If they have a clubhouse, we have a clubhouse. They're going to tell us what we expect to be the target market is for the clubhouse.
I think that it's more that, like,
It's something to think about. Listen, it's something to think about. But we have to see if that's going to be negative. Will the tenants, and I'd love to save the money putting in a pool. I would love to save land for something other than a pool. It's something to think about, but who agrees with you that the city is going to go? This is economics in terms of like that particular site.
Hi, folks. It sounds like we got a lot of engaging conversation, but we only have about 10 minutes. 10 minutes to start wrapping up so we can get to questions and answers before we break. Thank you. Okay, we have a 5-minute warning, folks, and then we're going to go into questions and answers. Okay, folks, I'm sorry, but our time is up. Our time is up. If the panelists can come back to their seats up front. And Emily and Chris, will you man our microphones, please? Renee, I'm sorry I call you out, but that means you, panelists. Please, folks, I know it may be tempting, but please leave your site plan on the table. I've noticed some folks taking pictures, which is fine, but please leave the site plan on the table, not put them in your coat or under a shirt. We need them. We need your notes. It's very important for us to be able to see what was done here tonight. So please leave those site plans. Renee, are you coming back up for Q&A? All right, so we have Emily and Chris that have microphones. We have 21 minutes till we're wrapping up. So we will start with any questions for our panel. If you could just tell us your name and who your question will be for, and we'll try our best to give you an answer.
Hi, my name is Todd Townsend, 502 South J Street. I'm not exactly sure who to ask this question to, but it's been my experience, having lived and worked in museums before, that museums don't make a lot of money. In fact, they make almost no money. And so I wanted to know that if this is going to be a public-private partnership, who are the donors going to be? Because the donors are the people that pay forever on the thing, you know. So here's the donor.
Louise's salary, or the staff, or the air conditioning, or increasing the collection, but we need the residential component to help subsidize the operation of the museum. That's the purpose of the restaurant. That is a source to defer and to subsidize. You're absolutely right. I don't know one museum on earth that makes a penny, right? And this is a 501c3, so it's nonprofit. Nonprofit. So, does that answer the question? Yeah, that was a really good answer. Well, that's the only answer that's the truth. The residential component is necessary to help defray the cost. Right, and so far, is Louise here? Okay, so far the operation is at least $700,000 a year. At least. At least. Any other questions? Oh, you have another one. Go ahead.
We're sitting right here in a wonderful spot in town here at the Hatch Building. This is a really big space right here, and it really doesn't get used a lot or very well. It only has like a few offices for a few people. Would you consider building your museum here in this spot, and then we could move our CRA to a downtown area?
What is
Would you
the
ever
answer?
consider that?
So no, I totally do not agree with you. This museum needs. I'm a little passionate about this.
That's okay, and I get that. That's good. I will say thank you for your question, Todd, and ma'am, thank you for your response. I'm going to put him out there a little bit, and I told my group this. When you just said, well, that's a very good answer, it's a truthful answer. One thing Arthur said to us when we got this team together is, I want to make a marriage with wherever we build this museum. And a marriage is built on trust. And it's got to work both ways. And that's what you're getting from this gentleman. That's why the team is here tonight to do this. So, sir, in the back, you have a question?
Not a question, just a comment. I live on the south side of town. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, they can't hear me at home.
Because we're live streaming, we need the
Got it.
microphone.
So I live on the south side of town, and I just am excited and very grateful to you guys for making an investment on the south side of town. I will do anything that I can to help get this through. Just excited for the project. It's wonderful for our part of the city.
Let me say then that what we need is parking. The town has a great need for parking, and so does this development. Parking, parking, parking.
I have a question for Louise. So, Louise, with the museum and the gift shop and the cafe, just this basically is your block. This whole block right here is your responsibility. About how many staff are required to run all of the components of the museum, the cafe, and the gift shop, and about how many jobs is that going to be?
I was going to use.
So until now, we've worked with a very small team, but we're speculating that we'll need something in the order of 12 to 15 people to staff all the different activities, because in our current locations, we haven't had a cafe restaurant before, so we need somebody responsible for that. We haven't done as much eventing in our temporary space, so we need people for that. Obviously, security and exhibitions are all the typical staff that we have, which involves curatorial, the collections management. All of that side continues to come, but with all of these extra amenities that are being proposed in this site, it's other people. So the number that's being talked about in our forecasting is of 12 to 15.
And then what about, do you utilize volunteers?
Absolutely. I mean, every museum thrives on the volunteer support and needs the volunteer support. So we've had, over the years, a lot of support in docent volunteering for doing the guided tours and helping us to engage with the public, helping on receiving guests and visitors, helping behind the scenes as well. So the volunteer side of it is critical to the success of a museum. We can't afford all the staff that really needs to make a museum work successfully. So engaging with the volunteer program is part of the day-to-day business of a museum.
Chris, we have a question up here. Aaron?
Aaron Allen. I understand that there's going to be a component of teaching children the arts and also senior citizens and that kind of thing as a free opportunity for them to come. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I can. Let Louise. Oh, no, let Louise. Do you want to take it, Louise?
We already do a lot of work with seniors in our community and also children. Our business model changed slightly over with COVID impact, but we used to have bus loads of citizens coming from local community centres and the residential gated communities everywhere north to Palm Beach, down to south of Dania Beach, where the original location was. Obviously, that activity changed a bit with COVID, the number of people that wanted to get on a bus. But we've always serviced and enjoyed having the lifelong learners in the senior community. That's been a very important part of the museum. But children also, engaging children, and as Arthur mentioned, having them have opportunities, seeing the art. They love the colour. Everybody sort of freaks at the idea of children in a ceramics and glass museum, but really it's not like that at all. They have a tremendous respect if they're properly educated on the process. But the reaction to see young children react to the colour initially, and then to have a hands-on experience working with the clay. We do lots of clay building exercises. We do glass fusing classes for all age groups. So we're very actively involved at all age groups in the community. So children right through. Our hope is in the new location that we'll have forge partnerships with the school district and be able to have more formalized programs as well. But a lot of what we've done in the interim period, and certainly post-COVID, is scavenger hunts to engage with whole family activities and to make the whole museum going process fun for people, for the whole community, not just the people that think that they know and love the arts, but a lot of other people as well. Does that answer the question?
A follow-up to what Aaron just shared. It seems like in the county, all the schools with elementary and middle school kids during breaks and during the summer, they're looking for camps. It could be maybe a subsidized program, but the parents are still, and the grandparents are paying for their kids to go to camp for 2 or 3 months. This would be an incredible opportunity for those kids too.
Any other questions, comments?
Michael McLeod. Related to the construction, you have 3 components, I guess. You have the museum, you have the residential, and you have the parking garage. Will the construction of the site be, will all those elements be built concurrently, or is it going to be done in phases?
Does Ed or Anna or Nick, do you want to, who wants to take that one?
So the museum and the residential, because it's one development, would be built at the same time. And then anything off-site would probably be done at a different time. And first off, we have to move those 4 houses and the contributing structures and then get the site ready and do the excavation and everything. All that would be done, as I say, at the same time here.
If I could add to that, certainly it's highly dependent upon whatever conversations that we have with the city about timing. If it does happen, again, it's very preliminary. If we are able to work through those discussions and challenges, the timing of that would be a part of the overall conversation.
Question in the back.
Ooh, I have a microphone. Just a comment. As a downtown business owner for many, many years, I don't see how I could not support this. I think this is a great opportunity for all of us to move forward and build something greater than we already have. So please, please, please tell all your friends, get everybody on board, and let's move forward. Thanks.
Hello. I love this, but I've lived in a lot of places too where they've developed 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. I've lived in Del Rey before Del Rey exploded. And the one thing or 2 things I would say is, one, you guys need to have like every possible objection you can possibly think of covered really well, because this area is notorious for people who like to object to things. And so I would suggest strongly that you have a much better game plan for that, which is what you're developing here, so that when it comes to the point where it's going to decision time, that you're not going to run into things you didn't expect. The other thing that I would also say is that it's very important to also, I think about what this is going to do to change the city itself within 5 to 10 years of it being built. The law of unintended consequences is always, oh yeah, it's not going to really make that much of an imprint on the impact, but it does, because it's a beautiful building, and somebody else is going to want to build a beautiful restaurant across the street, and someone's going to want to do something else down the street. And do we have, to your thing of parking, which I love, thank you, do we have enough to cover the future growth of the city that's going to be generated by this?
I really think that's a question that we would defer to the city, on, and I'm out of my I am taking off my person hat and my former city manager hat, just to say, redevelopment is iterative, and you have to be nimble enough to figure out what the impacts are when it happens, and then move to address those. That's just basic laws of governance.
True.
And I think that the city has put forward a very well-written vision about what they want for the downtown to happen. And I think, all things considered, that vision includes growth, smart growth, sustainable growth. And I think if this happens, this is not outside of anything that has already been planned for in their overall vision. One of the things that we talked about when we first presented this to the community is alignment, and how significantly we were aligned with many of the goals that were established in the comprehensive plan for this community, the arts and culture master plan for this community, the CRA plan for this community, and the alignment with your existing land development codes for the downtown. So I think just the fact that we're aligned with your long-term plans that already exist, I think that we're in a very good position to not have those catastrophic unintended impacts. Not to say there won't be any, but I think we're already well aligned, if that answers your question.
Hi. To that end, because we're all wondering and waiting to see what's going to happen with the city, we know we're the last bastion of oceanfront property, oceanfront owned property, and we're a historic downtown. I did a lot of work. I lived in Lee County, so I worked with the city of Fort Myers, and they fought very, very hard. I always feel like Lake Worth Beach. If you've never been to Fort Myers, the historic Fort Myers, take a look at it, because they fought vehemently to not become a Delray, and they didn't. They made it. Their downtown redevelopment was incredible, and they really did hold on to historic. Now, they got some high-rises and like that, but they're kind of outside the main historic downtown. We can do that. I feel that having a project like this will be one of our biggest first new, other than residential facilities, other than hotel. This could be the benchmark that everybody else has to work up to, saying they could do it at this height. They did it with this. I feel like this is the best possible next step we could ever have in a city if we do it right. So, just a thought.
Rames McLeod here. I love the site plan, but this only gives us the first floor. So I know you're going to take all our input from here and then come back. When you come back, instead of just sketches, are you really going to have some architectural design so we can see the facades of the building, if there's going to be overhangs for shading, what kind of trees you're looking at, some more of the actual, the look of the building versus, we know you're looking at the heights and things like that. Will that come when you come back with the feedback from here, or is that down the road further?
Yeah. Yes. When we come back to the CRA board and the city commission, we have to be able to provide them with enough information, floor plates and renderings, so that they can understand what ultimately they are partnering with us for. The true P3 part, of course, is if we are moving forward with the parking garage, but still, they don't have to decide to give the property to us ultimately, right? So we have to be able to deliver information to the city that gives them enough understanding of what it is that's being constructed, the quality of it, and the design of it. So the answer to your question is yes. I'm going to turn it over to HLW to
And as a follow-up to that, when you make that presentation of what it's going to look like, besides the sketches, will there be then an additional opportunity for citizen input on our reaction to what you present?
No, we will be presenting this to the CRA board and the city at a public hearing. So I know that there is process for you to be able to give feedback at that time. And then we will be required to go through all of the requisite public hearings and informations per your code for any other project. So just because we get to September and they say, we like it in concept, this is the deal terms, this is how we're going to move forward, we still then have to go through the regular entitlement process that exists for code, which requires us to do radius mailings to inform people within a certain area of the impact of the development, that requires us to have public meetings, that requires us to go to historic preservation and to city commission and so on and so forth. So there'll be many opportunities for comment.
Okay, because I know that when Restoration St. Louis came and we had a lot of input, and we didn't like a lot of things of what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And then they went back to the drawing board, so to speak, incorporated some of our stuff, consulted with city staff, and found out, well, no, we really can't do that because of the code and the zoning and all the rest of it. So I'm just wondering if you're going to follow in that same footprint or pathway, or is when you present it, you're like, okay, this is what we came up with, and this is what we're going forward with, without more input from the city about the residents, about the look of it and that kind of thing.
No, I mean, ultimately, as we said, we've done this process extremely transparently.
Right.
We've tried to. There's no reason for us to stop doing that.
Okay.
I think the process which is laid out in your code provides for that. And so when we do our neighborhood meetings, that's the idea, for us to get information and feedback.
Hi there. I used to live right across the street on First Avenue South for about 3 years. And it's the entire area around the downtown is filled with people who choose to live there because they are near the downtown. And I think a lot of focus should be put on the synergy between the museum and the residential structures so that the residential complex, the bigger building, really has a close relationship, theme, branding with the museum. And I would also encourage almost like an artist and residence program or something where you cycle artists that may feature their work in the museum and cycle them in and out of, a unit or two in the museum residences or whatever they're going to be called. But I see this being a real destination, international destination for us.
Okay, we got time for one more. If we have one more question or comment. Okay. Well, listen, we thank you all very much for being here tonight. And to this gentleman in the black shirts comment, we are talking with everybody. And if you have a question, if you have a group that you'd like us to speak with or anybody individually, they can email us at WMODA@gmail.com. You can scan the QR code, go on our website, sign up for our newsletter, which next month will be publishing outcomes from this meeting. And we're always at your disposal because we want to hear from everybody. Because we want to know any challenges that we face. And we also want to make sure that the correct information is out there so that there's not anything floating around that may not be accurate. So again, thank you very much. Moderators, if you could please compile your packets of information and gather your site plans. Thank you all very much. And again, the low-calorie cookies are back there.